Good morning, beautiful people. It is Tuesday, January 7th, 2020, and once again, we have breaking news to lead off the show. I guess 9:55 a.m. Eastern Standard Time is the official time of coaches getting hired in the National Football League. As of this morning, Matt Rule, formerly of the Baylor Bears and of the Temple Owls, is now the head coach of the Carolina Panthers. Congratulations.
Go, Matt.
Matt Rule took Temple into prominence. He was able to recruit and bring in a bunch of physical specimens that took Temple from being irrelevant, which was once a relevant team, back into relevancy, being a top 25 squad. He then got hired by Baylor. Baylor was in the depths of hell whenever it comes to college football, both on the field and off the field. Despicable things happening off the field, terrible things happening on the field. Matt Rule was hired in there, brought this family-type mindset, this attitude that we're going to build from within, and crafted a one-win team into an 11-win team that was one win away from going to the college football playoff. Would they have lost to LSU by 1,000 just like Oklahoma did? Absolutely. But what Matt Rule does is he goes in, he sets this mentality that each week is a 1-0 season and builds this environment where everybody buys in. I got a chance to not only call a Baylor game, but get to know Matt Rule, interview Matt Rule, and obviously I jumped into a river for Matt Rule. And it's just one of those things where you meet a guy and you meet a coaching staff and you say, you know what? These people here are doing it right. Look for him to bring Phil Snow to be his defensive coordinator from Baylor to the Carolina Panthers. I have no idea what they're going to do on the offensive side of the ball. They got some big decisions to make. Who's their quarterback? Do you keep Cam Newton? Do you go back to him? It's a new coaching staff, so maybe Cam Newton has to prove himself to a new group of individuals. Will Grier did not look great. Kyle Allen did not look great. Will they move up in the draft to get another quarterback? Who knows? That's his first decision, but I do know that the Carolina Panthers got a good one. And the Carolina Panthers came out and said, we are not letting this son bitch out of our facility, because the New York Giants, just as of 2 hours ago, were honing in on Matt Rule. Their entire game plan was to get Matt Rule from Baylor because he started there with Tom Coughlin. The Carolina Panthers caught wind of that information and said, hey, Matt, I don't know what you need, but we're not letting you out of this beautiful city of ours here in Charlotte. I think they call it the Queen City. It's not downtown. It's uptown. It's a place that could thrive, could do well. There was glory for the Carolina Panthers way back. Will Matt Rule be able to bring that back? I think it's a good hire for them. And also, congratulations to Matt Rule's bank account. They had to break him off to get there. Congrats to Matt Rule. Congrats to the Carolina Panthers. Now, Foxy, let's get to the damn show. Play some Chase Rice.
Oh, we're getting there, we're getting there, we're getting there, we're getting there, we're getting there.
Sorry. Is this day one?
I had a package up.
Ladies and gents, it's the Pat McAfee Show. It's the Pat McAfee Show.
Okay, so it turns out that David Tepper, the owner of the Carolina Panthers, once of the Pittsburgh Steelers, actually traveled down to Waco to meet with Matt Rule. The idea was that he wanted Josh McDaniels or Matt Rule after traveling down to Waco with the home of Dr. Pepper, the home of Magnolia Farms, Chip and Joanna Gaines, the home of the Brazos River. Mr. Tepper said, I say no more, my friend. I want you as my head coach for the Carolina Panthers. He made him an offer he couldn't refuse. And now Matt Rule is leaving the Baylor team that I think the Baylor team would also be happy for him. He came on this show and said that he told the team, no, that was Norvell, but reports came out that the Baylor coach, Matt Rule, told his team that he was taking offers from the NFL, fielding offers from the NFL, and the Baylor Bears, the team was happy for him. They were proud of him. And I'd assume now this announcement is good news, not only for Baylor Bears, but the Carolina Panthers.
I love the move for Carolina because I think their issue is defense. Like, they have McCaffrey and two young wide receivers on offense that are good. And what Matt Rule and Phil Snow did as far as defensive-wise in the Big 12, the only team that really played defense in the Big 12, is something that's really going to help Carolina, because when you have the offensive weapons, you can find an OC who's going to make those work.
Yeah, and Christian McCaffrey is a good person you could build your team around at running back. I'd assume if Christian McCaffrey's good, that means their offensive line has to be pretty good. So now you just got to figure out the quarterback and all that stuff. Good for them. Excited to see if it works out. Happy for Matt Rule as a friend of mine. Also happy for a guy named Tua Tagovailoa. Okay, very happy for Tua. Let me tell you why. Yesterday, there was a press conference at noon with Tua and Nick Saban. Nick Saban led off the speech by talking in the past tense, so he gave away the fact that Tua was probably going to be leaving Alabama. Going into this decision and going into this thought, once I heard that people still had him in top 10s or in the first round, I said there is zero chance that Tua should come back to school. I've always felt this way, by the way. Always. I've always thought that college, especially nowadays, you can get a doctorate degree online. A university, a degree can come at any given time. If you have a chance to go to the NFL, you go. You go and get your monies. Now, there's a couple players that where I went to West Virginia where they decided to leave early and they shouldn't have left early. They were being told that they're probably a 5th, 6th, 7th round draft pick, and they still decided to go because they wanted to chase the dream. They ended up being undrafted, never making it, falling out, never going back to school, things like that. I have seen the sad stories of these situations. I've seen people take information from people that don't know what they're talking about and go. But they were still saying that Tua was going to be a first-round draft pick, even after all the injuries that he suffered. All of them. 3 surgeries in 2 years, I think, 4 surgeries in 2 years. He's one of the most prolific passers in the history of college football. But in the NFL, the best ability is availability. And Tua has not been able to show that. So whenever I heard that his hip injury happened, I was like, that stinks, because just 1 year ago, there were people saying that they thought the Alabama football team could beat an NFL team strictly because of how good Tua was. There was people saying that. Those people, obviously, buffoons, should never be allowed to speak on microphones and things like that. But there was people saying that just because of how good Tua was. And I agreed with them that Tua was this different animal for Alabama quarterbacks. In the past of Alabama, you would have this running team where Derrick Henry, Trent Richardson, you name it, you go on and on, these Heisman running backs that would go behind that offensive line and they would just ground and pound you to death. And then Saban's defense would be stingy and they turn the ball over and Alabama would just win. It'd be like Novocaine. Give it some time, it's going to work. And then Tua came in at halftime, and it was a whole different ballgame. Tua was opening the field up, utilizing their 5-star wide receivers. He was picking apart defenses in a methodic fashion. But what came with that was a lot of injuries, Now, I'm not saying it's his fault. I'm not saying that at all. I think he is a tough kid, but I am saying these string of injuries can be a bit alarming. And if he was decided to come back next year, and let's just say somehow, some way, his hip was able to heal up fast enough that he was able to play at Alabama next year. Now, everybody's assuming that his hip will not be able to heal up fast enough, and next year is going to be a redshirt year anyways. I think he should rather do a redshirt year while getting paid as opposed to a redshirt year while you're at Alabama taking classes and all that BS, go to the NFL. But let's just say he was able to play again next year at Alabama. If he gets hurt again, he's done. It's no longer a first-round conversation. It's no longer a second-round conversation. It's like we'll take a flyer on him to see if he could be healthy to be our backup quarterback. The conversation right now is still that Tua can be a starter at some point, and that's the conversation, if I'm the Tagovailoa family, I want to keep happening. So there was no other option other than Tua going. I'm happy he made the right decision because just like Sam Bradford got hurt in college. He was able to still get drafted number 1 overall out of Oklahoma. Just like Jalen Smith out of Notre Dame. He got hurt disgustingly. He was still drafted by the Dallas Cowboys, took a redshirt year, and now they're reaping the benefits of it now. Just like Willis McGahee, who had a disgusting injury, still got drafted to the Bills and was able to do very, very good things. I think Tua, at the moment, even though he has all these injuries, will get drafted high. And Mel Kiper, who is a professional at this entire thing, actually said this just yesterday.
I think the 3rd best player in this draft. That's where I have him right now, with Chase Young, defensive end, Ohio State, 1, Joe Burrow, quarterback, LSU, 2, and then Tua in at number 3, with several teams in that top grouping looking at a quarterback. Miami at 5, the LA Chargers at 6. Miami picks again at 18. You have Tampa Bay in at 14. Those are possibilities, I think. And Mike Tannenbaum even brought up, if there's favorable medical reports, maybe even the Detroit Lions at pick number 3.
I love that. We'll get to that later for Foxy and the Lions. But Mel Kiper doesn't know his ass from a hole in the ground in a lot of situations. Okay? Whenever I got drafted, he thought I was getting drafted to take Adam Vinatieri's spot. He actually buried me on my draft day. The happiest moment of my life, I'm hugging my dad with tears coming out, and that buffoon, Count Dracula-looking mother is on the TV talking about how dumb of a pick this is and how I'm going to be carrying bags for Vinatieri until I get cut. I did carry bags for Vinatieri, but I was a punter, you idiot. That should have been obvious. But he still has his sources and his inside information that help him in the first couple rounds decide who's going to be what. And if he's saying that he's still a potential top 3 pick, top 5 pick, if you're Tua and you have all these injuries, you know it, you have to go through these rehab, and you're going to end up at Miami sitting behind Ryan Fitzpatrick for a year while getting rehab for an entire year, learning the NFL, watching a guy who has the brain of a Harvard man, the heart of a plumber, kind of pick apart teams, who's played everywhere, kind of pick his brain. I think it's a perfect setup for Tua. I think he made the right decision, and I'm very happy that nobody was able to get in his ear to tell him he should go back to school to prove himself again. I think he proved enough. The only thing he could have proved if he went back was that he is fragile and that he wouldn't be able to make it in the NFL. Instead, that question will now have to be answered while he's making money in the NFL, which is a good move in my eyes, mon frere.
Not to mention, him potentially getting injured next year, but you look at the quarterbacks this year, Joe Burrow is the number 1 for sure, but then after that, they don't really, it's like Tua is the number 2 guy. You never know next year if someone's going to emerge like Joe Burrow did, and he might end up being the 5th or the 6th quarterback taken next year.
Agreed. And I think the thing about him, it was chatted about last night. I was watching Sports Center a bit late because, those Mondays for Get Up, I get up like 5 a.m. So then whenever we get home after the flight, I took a nap for like an hour. Might as well say, hey, Pat, you're up till 3 a.m. You know what I mean? Like, if you take a nap nowadays at 32, if I take a nap, might as well just stay up until 3 a.m. That's what's going to happen. So I got a chance to watch a lot of things. There's no lefty quarterbacks in the NFL or backup quarterbacks in the NFL right now?
Really?
None.
Kellen Moore was the last.
Not a single, Kellen Moore was the last one to throw a completion. It was for the Cowboys in 2000, whatever. There's not a single left-handed quarterback or backup quarterback in the NFL right now, which is interesting. Because the Miami Dolphins, not this year, if he's not going to play this year, he's going to redshirt, they're going to have to stock up on that right tackle, right? Because now the blind side goes to the other side. So the left tackle is the most prominent position on the offensive line because it's protecting the quarterback. Lawrence Taylor created this position because of what he did to old buddy's leg. He ripped it in half. Left tackle is the blind side. Michael Orr, great movie, but now they're going to have to stock up on that right tackle position if it's going to happen. Kind of changes the game a little bit, the way he rolls out and everything. It could be a little bit different, just like how Belichick loves the lefty punter because the ball spins the opposite direction, even though he's past that now because there's numerous lefties. It's the same thing with the quarterback now. His pro side is going to be to the left. The right tackle is going to be a little bit more important. I'm excited to see if the Dolphins can piece this together because Brian Flores seems like a legit coach. The Dolphins seem like they're potentially turning the page and becoming a good organization as opposed to a dump organization that it's been for a long time. You see the Patriots potentially ending their dynasty up there. The Dolphins could potentially see a little bit of hope here, and I think this is the right decision for Tua, and I'm happy for him.
Yeah, I think if you're the Dolphins, you have to take him at 5. You have to. I mean, because Fitzpatrick, there's literally, I don't think anyone in the league better to sit behind for a year than Ryan Fitzpatrick because he's a journeyman, so he's not going to be an asshole to you.
Whoa, I don't think you're allowed to say what you just said.
I don't think so.
I thought we were allowed to say ass.
brazenly.
Might as well just wait 10 seconds until we're back on it.
Tone.
I thought we were allowed to say that word.
We had such a good run going. We were a real show. We broke news. We talked about a hot topic, and then you have to go in here with your childish antics and just swear
Gutter
because
mouth.
you are such an ignorant. Yeah, with your gutter mouth, your toilet bowl lips, you poop
barn.
face. What do you think this is? Have a little respect for the people that are listening. The millions and millions of people that are potentially listening right now in their cars, driving around with their children who are skipping school just to listen to good sports talk, and you have to drop the a-hole word?
I'm going to sit the next couple plays out.
Well, finish your point first.
Well, I'm saying there's no better quarterback than Ryan Fitzpatrick because he's a journeyman. He's not going to have the ego where I'm not going to teach this young guy. He's from Harvard. He's smart. He has the heart of a plumber. He'll teach him how to be gritty. It's just the perfect situation.
I think so, too. And I would assume that Fitzpatrick is nearing retirement, right? Mm-hmm. So I'm not sure how many more years Ryan Fitzpatrick thinks he's going to go. Maybe Ryan Fitzpatrick next year guides him for a year, and then they keep him on as a backup for Tua just in case, right? If he and Tua become a good relationship together, just like Drew Stanton was with Baker Mayfield, you keep that person. Now, granted, that did not I don't know if that was Freddie Kitchens' fault or Baker's, but in that quarterback room, you need allies. You really need allies because there's a lot of work. Getting a chance to watch Peyton manage his quarterback room was awesome. Each person had their own individual homework assignment. Each person had to bring out the best in the other person. And if Ryan Fitzpatrick and Tua can become that sensei and apprentice type relationship, I think it's good for the Dolphins' future, which is good for Gumpy, good for the Finns, and with the way the Patriots are looking, maybe the Dolphins become the favorite of the AFC.
Give me a break.
Pats are dead.
10-16. The new year is about growth and change. 7-16 Pacific. All the times in between. If you're a business owner like the Dolphins looking to grow your business, LinkedIn can help you find the right hires that can set you up for a strong year. LinkedIn job screens candidates with the hard and soft skills you're looking for so you can hire the right person fast. Things like collaboration, creativity, adaptability. LinkedIn looks beyond the work skills and puts your job post in front of qualified candidates who match your business requirements perfectly. That's how LinkedIn makes sure your job post is seen by the people you want to hire. People with the skills, qualifications, and other interests that will help your business blossom. It's no wonder a person is hired every 8 seconds with LinkedIn. Another person was just hired. And why companies rated LinkedIn Jobs the #1 hiring platform for delivering quality hires. To find the right person for your business today with LinkedIn Jobs. You can pay what you want and get the first $50 off. Just visit linkedin.com/Pat. Again, that's linkedin.com/Pat to get $50 off your first job post. Terms and conditions obviously apply. 8 seconds, a lot of dead time on radio. Not a long time in real life. LinkedIn Jobs is getting people jobs quick. LinkedIn.com/Pat. We're back on the other side with some Tom Brady conversation. Where is he going? What's he doing? Are the Patriots dead? We'll be back. This is the Pat McAfee Show.
Ten years ago, I had an undiagnosed heart condition, and erectile dysfunction was actually the first sign that something was wrong.
Luckily, I'm a doctor, an expert in sexual health, and Zach's dad.
Not everyone has a doctor in the house, and some health conditions can be really tough to talk about. We started Roman to change that.
Now you can go online and chat with a physician.
And if treatment is right for you, we'll ship genuine medication right to your door. If you're experiencing ED, hair loss, cold sores, or other issues, let's take care of it.
And that was station identification. Radio. Welcome back to the Pat McAfee Show here on January 7th, 2020. Just talked about Tua. Just announced the news that Matt Rule is headed to the Carolina Panthers. Very happy for the Carolina Panthers. What do the Giants do now? What do the Browns do now? The Browns are talking to everybody except for the people that won't take their interviews, like Matt Rule, who is now a Carolina Panther. I don't think Ron Rivera would take an interview with them either. I'm not 100% sure, but that has to be tough if you're a Browns. I'm sure they'll figure out the right guy. Urban Meyer's still on the table for the Cleveland Browns. Also, Stefanski, I guess, of the Vikings, and Salah, I've heard his name is also coming up.
They brought in like 12 people. They're doing their due diligence.
Yeah, see, that's interesting to me. That's very interesting to me because let's say we're all humans here. We're looking to find somebody to guide our ship. Okay, let's say we have a boat we're looking to guide. If somebody came in, I really liked them, I thought they would do good, would you even go to the next person?
Probably not.
No.
I don't think so. That's like, I guess you should always double check things. Like if you get a quote, you should double check it with somebody else. But if you've been around football long enough and you see somebody's resume and credential, and then once you talk to them, you're like, you know what? Feels like this is the right person. Bang. Just like what happened with Tepper and Matt Rule. Just like what happened in a lot of situations. You fall in love with somebody real quick and you're like, all right, that's my person. That's why, like when Collinsworth was talking about DK Metcalf falling, all Collinsworth kept saying is every time he was falling, I just kept thinking, oh, this guy must be a scumbag. This guy might be a dirtbag. But instead, he wasn't. He was a good guy. People just dropped him because his three-cone drill was slower than Tom Brady, who is currently a free agent in the NFL, which we will get to here in a second. But that is always interesting to me, where if you have 3 running backs, you have no running backs. If you have 4 quarterbacks, you have no quarterbacks. If you interview 12 people, do you have one good candidate then? I don't know. And maybe I'm a little bit quicker on the trigger on things, and the Haslam family is obviously known for making very good decisions. But for me, I just don't know if that's the right move.
You would hope when you hire a coaching candidate that you are blown away.
Yes, that's what I'm saying.
And if you're blown away, you don't go to the next person.
Yes, that's what I would hope too. So if they've gone through... I mean, maybe the Haslam family has a little self-awareness, though, and they know that this is a tall task. Like, hey, you know what you're walking into? We stink. We bring in good players. We stink. We get rid of bad coaches. We stink. We had the best dog in the NFL in our facility. We stink. It's just something that happens in this building, sir, that we stink. Do you think you can change that? And what if all the coaches are just like, man, now you mentioned it.
I don't know.
I don't know if I can.
Maybe their top 3 guys have already been taken, so now they're scrambling.
Well, that's what I was thinking was going to potentially happen with Dallas Cowboys and Jason Garrett situation, where Jason Garrett continued to delay the firing of himself by asking and begging and pleading for his job, which I respect. I mean, yes, it kind of makes you look like a soft ass, but in my eyes, see what I did there?
Yeah.
Soft ass is
Smart.
okay. It's the one that you used is not. Totally. Face ass, also okay. The one that you used, not good.
That's why you are who you are, and I am who I am.
I am what I am. You can like it or love it. It feels good to drop 50 grand and think nothing of it. 50 Cent said that. He's a poet.
He is.
Anyways, I thought the Cowboys were going to miss out on a good candidate because of the delay. And I think that's why the Carolina Panthers fired Ron Rivera. They wanted to see if that guy was the guy. That's why the Black Monday into the immediate interview process of coaches that are still in the playoffs have to happen, because people can get lured to other places. They can do all that stuff. The Giants in Matt Rule everybody had that match. This is what's happened. They both swiped right on each other. Bingo, bango. They're hooking up. Nobody else can touch them. And then Tepper takes a trip on a plane, I'd assume that's private, down to Waco and lures him out of that thought. He falls in love with them, says, I'm not even going to talk to Josh McDaniels, who has in the past got on a plane and turned back around on a team. I think it's very interesting. This is the coaching hirings are so intriguing to me. It's so intriguing to me because who knows if any of these people are going to be successful. Anybody. I think Belichick got fired from like 2 different places, didn't he?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Cleveland he got fired.
Cleveland got fired, and then
New York, he resigned?
He resigned, I guess, which we have. Here's a second. We have a man that's about to break into the doors here in about 10 minutes and break down everything that he thinks is going to happen with Tom Brady. But who knows if a coach is going to do well? Who knows if a coach is going to fit? Just like who knows if a quarterback's going to do well at a place? Everything's such a big question mark. That's why the NFL is the greatest league on earth. Speaking of question mark, the greatest player in the history of the game. Now, A lot of people are going into advanced stats. We got a caller yesterday that said that Aaron Rodgers is the best quarterback of all time. We can respect that because we're Aaron Rodgers friends, but it is universally known that Tom Brady is the GOAT. I mean, that's just what he is. He's greatest of all time, 6 Super Bowl rings. I mean, to be able to guide your team in a quarterback-driven league to the promised land on numerous occasions, back to back to back to back to back for the last 20 years is what makes somebody great, which is what made Tom Brady the greatest. What makes me like him even more is before this season, he went up to Kraft and he said, listen, I want out of my deal, and for the first time in my entire career, I want control of my own destiny. So you see how this year panned out. Tom Brady was not happy on numerous occasions. In his post-game press conferences, the guy looked dejected. The man who's one of the most handsome people on earth, a man who I didn't think had sweat glands after a lot of games would go up there and be like, I'm tired, man. This isn't good. We're not playing well. Instead of the classic, we'll get these mistakes corrected and we'll move forward. It was something different with Tom Brady this year. Now they're talking about Tom Brady wasn't happy with the personnel that he had. Now they're talking about Tom Brady and Belichick, the rift that has been happening for a long time, potentially boiled over, which is what always happens. But for me, Tom Brady deciding to take his career into his own hands for the first time in 20 years is beautiful. This is a guy utilizing leverage like the NFL has never, ever, ever seen before. The Patriots, Bill Belichick and Kraft, are known for kicking great players, not just good players, Hall of Fame players, the hell out. See you later. Willie McGinnis, see ya. You're done. Teddy Bruschi, before you even want to be done, you're done. See you later. These players that are just like idols and icons, the Patriots had zero problems getting rid of for a long time. Zero problem. I'd rather get rid of a guy 1 year before he's dead than after he's dead. It's kind of been their mindset. That's why they've been so good. Jamie Collins gets shipped out of town at the peak of his career because they didn't like the way he was acting in a particular meeting. He's gone. They still go on to win. Who cares? We'll bring him back later whenever he's cheaper. The way the Patriots have been able to handle this roster and move star players without having to really deal with the negative effects of that is what has made them so impressive until this year. This year, they didn't have the personnel. This year, they didn't have the weapons. This year, Tom Brady was looking at his teammates, asking them to be things that you can't just flip a switch and become. Hey, you. I don't even know your name. I need you to be faster, man. I just need you to be a better wide receiver. You need to be more explosive, quicker. You need to generate some separation. Maybe catch the damn ball. Tom Brady was asking people to do stuff that you just can't do. You have to be born with. And in that post-game press conference after they lose to Mike Vrabel and the Titans, it almost looked like Tom Brady was relieved finally. This was a long year for the Patriots. Everybody knows it. They won a lot of games, but boy, there was a lot of cardiac situations for the Patriots in all fronts. Now, the defense was dominant. Special teams was good. But the conversation around the Patriots all year was this is the year that it dies. I refuse to say it because I played a part of some teams that lost by 50 to that team, and I'm just not going to be the guy that say, oh, it's dead. But now that I'm listening to more and more, Tom Brady talked to Peter King on his Monday morning quarterback, and this was his quote. Do we have it, Zito? He said, I think I'll explore those opportunities whenever they are. If it's with the Patriots, great. If that doesn't work, I don't know. I just don't know. I love playing football. I still want to play football. I think I can play at a championship level. I've just got to go do it. I'm motivated to get back to work and training. Robert Kraft said that he hopes two things. He hopes Tom's either with the Patriots or he's retiring. Let's go ahead and get rid of number two. Tom Brady is not retiring. Tom Brady is still going to play football at a very high level, and I'm not 100% sure it's with the Patriots. We've been saying it's with the Chargers. We've been saying it's with the Chargers since October 24th because it all makes sense. The Chargers need a face of the franchise to build a fan base in Los Angeles. The Los Angeles Rams got it to LA first. The Los Angeles Rams won there first, and in turn, the Los Angeles Chargers, whose quarterback was driving from San Diego every day, couldn't even sell out an MLS stadium. Now they're moving to a big boy stadium, and if the Chargers can't move tickets or fill that place up where it's an away game every single game like it has been for the last couple of years, that's a terrible business move by the Chargers, and they know it. You bring in Tom Brady with his TB12 treatment to Los Angeles where he trains, where the weather's nice, where Giselle can do all of her stuff. That just seems like the right fit, and it feels like something that could happen. Something that was mentioned yesterday to me and now today by Nick Moraldo and others. Don't rule out the Las Vegas Raiders taking a shot on Tom Brady for a lot of the same reasons I just mentioned. Brand new team in a brand new city. Now, is Vegas Los Angeles? No. Vegas
Is Vegas.
Vegas is Vegas. Vegas is the only place on earth that I put a self-ban on. I will not go there. It's just it's the wild, wild west, literally. There's no rules. I'm sure the people that live there are very nice. Everybody I've encountered there is very nice. It's just there's too much too often at Vegas, and I'm just not supposed to be there. Everything I like is in one particular place in the middle of a desert where there happens to be no rules, it feels like. It's just not a place for me, but I do know that there is a itch for football in Las Vegas, obviously, especially with gambling. Derek Carr and John Gruden, now this has never been legitimized or verified, but it feels as if those two are not right together. It feels as if that is not a marriage that Derek Carr or John Gruden love being in. Derek Carr is owned $21.5 million next year. Let's say the Raiders were to move Derek Carr to, I don't know, Tampa Bay, where their quarterback is currently asking for $40 million or $35 million or something like that. Automatically, there's $14.5 million saved off another quarterback. Derek Carr in a Bruce Arians system could be a lot of fun to watch. Now John Gruden, who loves veteran quarterbacks, has a chance to not only bring in the greatest of all time, but bring in a face of a franchise who's in a brand new city. And the thought of Tom Brady playing for the Raiders, especially after the tuck rule and everything like that, is just so hysterical to me that it's something I guess we have to warrant the conversation that it is possible, because at this given moment, right now, there isn't a single general manager in the NFL that if Tom Brady said, I want to come play for your team, they would say, nah, don't come here. I guess there's a couple. I guess the Packers would say no.
Yeah, probably.
Saints, we don't know.
I don't know.
We don't know what's happening with Breeze.
Yeah,
we have
true.
no idea what's going to happen with Breeze. Who?
Chiefs.
Chiefs would say no, thank
Baltimore.
Ravens,
I mean,
yeah.
there's like 4 or 5
right.
teams that would say no. Other than that, I think all options are on the table for Tom Brady, and I think Tom Brady knows that. And I'm pumped up to see what he does.
I like the Vegas move because I think they have a better young roster too than the Chargers possibly. Also, what is that, like a 23-minute private flight for Giselle and Tom if they want to go to LA from Vegas?
Well, Elon Musk is building that tunnel.
that's right.
True.
Might even be less.
There's another place that will somebody call Louis Bags in here. We have a guy who used to work at Barstool, got fired because he started a business there without telling Dave. He's our sales guy. He's been our sales guy for a long time. He is a degenerate gambler. He's helped with our YouTube. He's a guy that we've known for 3-4 years now. And by all accounts, an incredibly special individual. Incredibly special. His brain is a beautiful mind. I mean, it's next level. This morning, he starts posting all over the internet that there's only one place that Tom Brady's going to go because it's destiny. Where are you going, Lou? Go right there, Lou. Right there. That's your microphone. Lou, where do you think Tom Brady's going and why?
First of all, can we not say I got fired from a job for
All right.
Where's it going?
Yeah, you did a lot at play. You did a lot of
whatever.
Yes.
Anyway, I mean now that's just going to start a whole other thing. Whatever. So 20 years ago,
When?
Bill Belichick handed this note to the Jets.
Can we zoom in on that? What's it say?
Jets.
What they say?
It says, I resign as the head coach of the New York Jets.
On a piece of napkin.
On a napkin, and he went to the Patriots.
Okay. So he said to the Jets, could you show that to the camera right there, Lou? I resign as the head coach of the New York Jets, BB. That's exactly what he said.
Note.
So for that reason, you think right now, coming up, Tom Brady is potentially gone, McDaniels is potentially gone. You think what? Myself and McDaniels are going to New York TB12. Just because.
It just makes sense, man. Like the same thing like I told you about TikTok. We've been having this TikTok conspiracy. This thing, life just like things happen in life. Okay? That's all I got.
Jets don't make sense. Jets don't make sense.
Jets make complete sense.
Why?
Because Bill left?
Were you talking to a microphone?
They're number 10. Sorry, bro. I didn't get any, whatever. They're number 10 in DVOA for their defense. They have a much better defense than wherever else he's going to go. Him and Gisela can do whatever the fuck they want.
Jeez, Lou. He's not going to New York. He's not going to New York.
Unbelievable.
Don.
Good run, Lou.
Sleep well.
He's not going to New York. Come on.
Giants need a coach.
Yeah, he thinks the Jets.
I know, but that.
Did you know that this time of year is the number one time? Lewis is light switch Lou, dude. Just a light switch of an individual. Wasn't even speaking into the microphone.
No.
Was just roaming around the room.
He dropped that F-bomb in the mic, though.
Bro, yeah, he went all the way in.
Made sure.
He took a shower because he said, I want to look good for this. Comes in. He's all in on the Jets, by the way. Just because 20 years ago, Bill Belichick left the Jets, he thinks that Tom Brady will want to get back at Bill Belichick doing that with McDaniels at the Jets. But Adam Gase has already been secured for next year. So
Makes no sense.
But there's a question. If McDaniels says to a team, I want to be your head coach, how many teams take him? Would the Jets be one of them?
Yeah, I would think so.
I would think so. I don't think McDaniels is going anywhere. Everybody's assuming he's going to all these jobs, and maybe it's just because of what he did to the Colts a couple years ago. Maybe. I don't know. But why would you want to leave if you've already been told that basically you're the guy in waiting for the New England Patriots?
Right.
Already have your house set up there?
Unless, like Tom, he sees the writing on the wall that roster is just old and dead and wants to get out.
Not old, not dead. We're okay.
It's the oldest defense in the league.
It's a good defense.
And Van Noy's gone, I heard?
Yeah, he's a free agent.
Oh.
McCourty's a free agent. Yeah, those are two big ones.
Yeah. Well, Tom.
Hightower.
Oh, yeah, I forgot about him, too.
Yeah, Tom.
I'm not thinking about that.
Did you know that this time of year is the number one time? Right now he's sitting out there, has no idea what he did wrong. Has no clue why we had to kick him out of here. Do you know this time of year is the number one time to get engaged? So if you're in love and ready to get engaged, go see our friend Steven Singer, the I Hate Steven Singer guy. You've been hearing us talk about him for weeks. And you might have seen his billboards. I hate Steven Singer. Other jewelers love to hate Steven. Why? Because Steven makes buying a diamond easy. No negotiating, no haggling, no nonsense, and no BS. Just one perfect price every day, and he has the best quality, best diamonds anywhere. Check out Steven's Ready for Love diamond engagement ring collection that is ready to go. Each diamond is hand-selected and picked by his real expert jewelers. No one selling online or anywhere else for that matter does it better than Steven Singer Jewelers. He takes no risk shopping to the next level with his full 100-day, 100% money-back guarantee and fast and free shipping both ways. Whether your budget is $500 or $5,000, Steven has the perfect engagement ring for you at the perfect price. Visit the real Steven Singer at the other corner of 8th and Walnut in Philadelphia or online at IHateStevenSinger.com with free shipping. Real diamonds, real experts, real jewelers. Steven Singer Jewelers. That's IHateStevenSinger.com. 1040 here on the East Coast. We'll talk about Mike McCarthy to the Cowboys being a brilliant move for them. And also take some phone calls, 1-833-622-3331, and some news that we missed. This is the Pat McAfee Show.
Hey guys, if you're experiencing erectile dysfunction, you can now get treated anywhere. Like here, 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 even here. Okay, maybe not there. That's why we built Roman. So it's easy to get ED meds prescribed online, delivered to your door. Just visit GetRoman.com, chat with a U.S. licensed physician, and if treatment is right for you, you'll get genuine medication delivered in discreet packaging. Get started with your free online visit at GetRoman.com/TV.
Welcome back to the Pat McAfee Show. It is January 7th, 2020. Rule is the new head coach of the Carolina Panthers. Tua is going to the NFL. Tom Brady is going to the Chargers or the Raiders.
Oh, come on. Give me a break.
Sorry, man.
Or maybe he's utilizing his leverage to get a better roster up there. I'll ask you this, Boston Connor, as a big-time Patriots fan. What do you think the issue was with this team this past year that didn't get them past the wild card weekend?
You know, Brady had the greatest tight end of all time for the entire decade. You know, he had Gronk, the safety valve that he didn't have this year. You know, we lose our center and David Andrews, which is also a huge role in the run game.
Okay.
You know, Sony Michel didn't
Just
have...
answer the question. What was the problem?
The problem was we couldn't win games down the stretch.
Why?
And our offense just never clicked.
Okay, is
never
it because
got going.
personnel?
Yeah, I'd say so.
Okay, so if it's a personnel problem, which is what everybody thinks, the defense was great, so that means Bill Belichick led a great defense, good defensive coordinator. But if it's a personnel issue and Bill Belichick is the general manager and the head coach of the team, would Bill Belichick then have to admit that the personnel was the issue with the problem for Tom Brady to be happy, you think?
I think so, but he did try. You know, he went out, he got Sanu. You know, he tried to make a move to give him an offensive weapon. It just didn't work out.
AB. You got AB?
Yeah, he did get AB.
And then he cut AB.
Got rid of him.
Brady's whole thing his entire career is
By the way, AB cut AB.
Yeah.
I think we can all agree with that. Go ahead, though, Duke.
Brady's whole thing his entire career, everyone always says, is that he could win with anyone. So is it his fault that he couldn't win?
Is it
with
Brady
just
saying that, or is that
anyone?
what everybody else is saying?
Everyone else.
Yeah, everyone else has said he could win with anyone, but that anyone also included Gronkowski.
That has to change, too,
Randy
when you
Moss,
become 42
Randy
years
Moss,
old.
yeah.
Welker.
There's a lot of weapons.
Trust me, I
what
know.
happened to the lacrosse kid? Did he-
Hogan? He's
Yeah.
in Carolina now.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, they just let him go out there. So here we go. They just let him walk out the door because they didn't need him. You let Josh Gordon walk out the door, you don't need him.
Demaryius Thomas.
Demaryius Thomas out the door, you don't need him. So Bill Belichick is going to have to admit that it was a personnel issue on the offensive side of the ball for Tom Brady to be like, okay, I can agree with that. We'll come back. Is that what you think has to happen?
I think so. And if he's asking for money, then give him the money. He's taking pay cuts his whole career.
I agree. And if he's leveraging this for a massive contract, Tom Brady, good for Tom.
Genius.
Genius at Tom Brady. His wife makes $100 million a year, which, by the way, hey, get in where you fit in, Tom. If you can get another $100 million, you do what you got to do. 10:48. We only got about 5 minutes left. We need to talk about Mike McCarthy. I think Mike McCarthy is the right guy for the job for the Dallas Cowboys. I said this yesterday. I like it a lot. I like that he's a yinzer. I like that he has a little bit of a hard edge to him. He's a little bit of a hard ass. And I think that is what the Dallas Cowboys need. The only question will be, can he and Jerry Jones get along? Now, he slept at Jerry Jones' house on Saturday night, the day before he fired Jason Garrett, 2 days before it was announced he was going to be the head coach. I'd assume they had a couple cocktails, had some food, they broke bread, and they had a whole conversation about how the relationship would go. Peter King has said on numerous occasions this week that this thought that Jerry Jones is a dictator and inserts himself in every decision is wrong. That is not the case. He said Jerry Jones will listen to other people if they have the right decision. I think he's going to have to do that with Mike McCarthy, who has a great football acumen just alongside everybody else. You're talking about a guy that's worked with Montana, Brett Favre, Aaron Rodgers, you name it, and this past year has run a shop out of his house as if he was still head coaching. Now, I think he's been watching a lot of film. Looks like he's gained about 40, 50 pounds.
Yeah.
I don't think he's moved from the film room for the last year. And I think Mike McCarthy, after hearing this quote, is ready to get back into the game.
But what I found through this transition is excuse me. What I found is our family needs this, you know. I don't know why this question. Sorry. We need to do this. So this is something that I feel like just because everything that's happened, and this will be a great opportunity for us.
Why do you say we need to do this?
Oh shoot. I just think it's how you handle, you know, things in your life. You know, it's this, you know, coaching this league's a way of life, and you think it's a way of life for the coach, but it's for your whole family. You know, we need football right now. We won't need it forever, but we need it right now.
This guy loves football, misses football, and is going into a position where expectations are going to be very high of Mike McCarthy. This team, Dallas Cowboys, every single year expectations are Super Bowl or bust. And that's not just Jerry Jones or their fans. That's everybody talking because they're on national television every single week. He stayed sharp in the film room. He's ready to get back in there, and he's got weapons to utilize on that offensive side of the ball. He just hired Mike Nolan, I believe, for a defensive coordinator, another guy that's experienced in this game. I'm excited to see how this works with Mike McCarthy. I think he's a damn good coach. I think he's going to do very well for the Cowboys. And I think anybody that's taking shots at Mike McCarthy for how the Green Bay Packers relationship ended needs to look a little bit deeper. Mike McCarthy has a 125, 77, and 2 record. 6 division titles, 10-8 in playoff records, 4 NFC title games, and obviously a Super Bowl ring. The guy is a winner. It just got to a non-happy relationship there with the Packers at the end, and I'm pumped to see this redemption story from Mike McCarthy. You heard it there, where he says when he go through things, and I think what he meant there was a lot of slander being said about both he and Aaron Rodgers towards the end of that thing. He was happy to step back away from it. Now he's got to rebuild his legacy, and the America seems the way to do it.
It'll be interesting to see, too, because when he was in Green Bay and he had Mark Murphy and Ted Thompson above him, those guys never talked to the press ever, so he was always the one who had to answer all these questions post-game.
And control the narrative.
Exactly, and took a lot of heat for it, and now he doesn't have to do that anymore. He has to focus on coaching the team, and Jerry's going to be doing all that kind of stuff. So
here's my question to you. One of the things that the Cowboys were criticized of this year was not getting Zeke the ball enough. McCarthy only had a top 10 rushing offense once in his 12 or 13 years with the Packers. Now, is that going to be an issue?
Did he ever have an Ezekiel Elliott?
No. But he also had Brett Favre and Aaron Rodgers. So is that why you don't run the ball as much?
And also if you don't have Ezekiel Elliott, I think you have to take advantage of your weapons. I assume Mike McCarthy feels that way as well. I think if he had Aaron Jones on that team, I think he would have been a little bit different the way he
did. He didn't play him.
But that was his last year towards the end. Same deal. Like if he would have had him,
he was young though.
Yeah,
so.
during their Super Bowl run in that time, I think things would have been different.
Anyways, I'm happy for Mike McCarthy. I'm happy for the Cowboys getting it right. Nick, was there any news that we missed in this first hour?
Yes, and you should know that News We Missed is sponsored by Manscaped. Oh. Manscaped offers precision-engineered tools for your family jewels. Go to manscaped.com and get 20% off and free shipping with the code AMERICA.
Oh, okay.
Let's talk about Logan Paul and AB. Logan Paul challenged AB to a boxing match a few weeks ago, and AB tweeted out yesterday, 2 words, square up. And he added Logan Paul, which led Logan to respond late last night with I'd drop you faster than the Patriots did.
Oh, wow, got him. Logan Paul, Antonio Brown, both going through internet video phases currently in the last month or so. I think that would be something that people would love to buy. Logan Paul has probably got him by, 60 pounds?
Yeah.
Logan Paul is a big dude as opposed to Antonio Brown. Let's assume Antonio Brown's athleticism could help him out there. What are the odds right now, Kyle?
OddsShark put out the odds, and they have Logan Paul at minus 2,000 and Antonio Brown at plus 1,000.
Hammer Antonio Brown.
Okay, I don't know. I think it's.
I mean, from what I've heard or what I've seen, I don't think AB needs to be taking any more shots to the head.
Okay, anything else? Jeez.
Oh, come on, Tony.
Jeez.
People on the internet were freaking out about Joel Embiid's dislocated finger he suffered last night.
Yeah, it was disgusting. Gross. That was absolutely disgusting.
Booger fingers.
Was he too dramatic, do you think? He basically said, I was playing with one hand.
Well, when your finger looks like that,
basketball is a sport where you have to touch the ball with your hands, and when one of your fingers is headed directly west, I think that could be difficult. Good for Joel getting back in there. I think he's becoming a dominant center, huh?
Oh, yeah.
Shaq's been talking him up, which is a big deal. 10:54 here on the East Coast, 7:54 on the West Coast. Another hour of magic on the other side of the break. You're listening to the Pat McAfee Show. What are we going to talk about in the second hour? Are we going to talk about Tua? Yep. We going to talk about Tom Brady? Yep. We going to talk about Mike McCarthy? Yep. We going to talk about this weekend's matchups? Yep. We going to take phone calls? Yep. You're talking about just a loaded hour for you on the other side. You're listening to the Pat McAfee Show from Indianapolis,
Indiana!
On average, people have to wait 29.3 days to see a doctor. Anyone living with erectile dysfunction, hair loss, or cold sores knows that kind of wait just won't work. That's why there's Roman, the digital health clinic for men. Complete a free online visit, and you'll hear back from a U.S. licensed physician within 24 hours. If medication is right for you, Roman delivers it with free 2-day shipping, always in discreet packaging. Get started today with a free online visit at GetRoman.com/TV. Roman, let's take care of it.
It's the perfect occasion for a mental vacation from the heart of the nation. Not your medication. 2 hours of magic. Let's give it a go. Ladies and gents, it's the Pat McAfee Show. It's the Pat McAfee Show. It's the Pat McAfee Show.
Yes, it is, Chase Rice, you handsome son of a bitch. I appreciate that. It is Tuesday, January 7th, 2020. We're coming to you live here from Indianapolis, Indiana. All the boys are with me. Boston Connor, Nick Moraldo, Tone Diggs, Ty Schmidt, Jason McAfee, Viva Lazito, Evan Foxy, and Todd McComas is on the phone lines, which we will get to. Stacked phone lines. Yesterday, after our show ended, a press conference began in Alabama with Nick Saban and Tua Tagovailoa. I think I said it exactly right.
Well done.
Announcing that he will be declaring for the NFL draft. I thought that this was his only option for a long time now, due to the fact that he's already had surgeries in just 2 years, due to the fact that he has impressed people with his arm, his precision, his accuracy, and his ability to make plays far beyond most quarterbacks in college have in a long, long time. Just a year ago, a lot of people were talking about the potential of Alabama beating an NFL team strictly because of Tua's ability. Now, here we sit 3 surgeries later on ankles and now his hip, and they're still talking about him being a first-round draft pick. If you're Tua or Tua's family member, you have to take that opportunity and run with it. A degree will be able to be had at any given moment in your life in the future. You can even become a doctor on the internet. A first-round draft grade is not always going to be around. Maybe Tua goes out next year if he was to stay at Alabama and balls out yet again. What happens? Well, Trevor Lawrence is still the number 1 quarterback. Tua is still the number 2 quarterback. This year they're saying Joe Burrow's the number 1 quarterback, and even after all of his surgeries and injuries, Tua is still the number 2 quarterback. It would be dumb of him to potentially go back, get hurt, jeopardize everything in Alabama before ever getting a paycheck for his incredible abilities at throwing a football. Him going to the NFL is the right move. Do I feel bad for Alabama? No, because Alabama has another 7-star quarterback just waiting down there, and they will still be good. They will still move forward in the right fashion. It's a win-win for everybody, including who we think is going to take them, the Miami Dolphins, who are going to allow Tua to sit behind Ryan Fitzpatrick for a redshirt year, learn everything that he could possibly can from a man who not only has a Harvard brain and a plumber heart, but has been there, done that with every situation. And just his last game was beat the Patriots in Gillette, in Foxborough, with a Dolphins team that is on the rise. I think it's a perfect setup for Tua. I think it's a year that he can learn everything. I think nowadays with quarterbacks too, because if you're a good quarterback, you get drafted to a terrible team. Mm-hmm. That's just the way it goes. There's a reason why you have the 1st, 2nd, 3rd, 4th, 5th, or 6th draft pick. It's because your team stinks. So whenever you're a great quarterback, you get handicapped by that. You have to go to this terrible football team, and now the world expects you to turn this team around. Now the world expects you to start on day 1, start immediately, and somehow become the guy, the face of the franchise, with not a lot of life lessons being learned in that particular case. You look at Aaron Rodgers. Now, granted, it was ugly. He had to sit behind Brett Favre, but the things that Aaron Rodgers learned from sitting behind Brett Favre is probably palpable. It's something that he could never, ever equate into a dollar value. Tom Brady with Bledsoe. Everybody you think about, other than like Peyton Manning and all that, sitting behind somebody, getting to learn what to do, what not to do, how to handle meetings, how to handle your teammates, how to handle media, how to handle money for the first time in your entire life. It's nice to have that moment to sit back. Now, granted, everybody wants to start day 1 and be the face of a franchise and take them to the Super Bowl and live this dream life. But that's just not the right thing to do. And now we live in a world where expectations are so high, not only of teams, but of players. They want to see him get in there and do well immediately. I think a red shirt year for Tua, not only to get healthy, but to learn the game, will be great for him. And I'm excited to see him potentially become the leader of the team that could be leading the AFC East for the next 10 to 20 years if that whole dynasty crumbles up there in New England, which I'm not saying it has or it will. But boy, there's signs of that thing tumbling up there in New England. All types of signs pointing to New England crumbling, and it's a good time for the Dolphins to get a guy for the future.
So the only real upside of Tua going back to school was that he would be drafted higher next year. But if people are talking about him going, like Mel Kiper talking about him going 3, 5, 7, 18 at the lowest.
Let's go.
There's only cons going back to Alabama because you get hurt again, you fall possibly 4, 5, 6, 7
And
round.
by the way, Tua, by all accounts, is loved by everybody.
Right. Yeah.
Everybody loves Tua. And he's throwing with his weak arm. He's supposed to be a righty. He's throwing with his bad arm, and he's still a potential top 5 draft pick after having 3 surgeries, one that ruined Bo Jackson's. Now there's advancement in medical and advancements in medicine. That hip will be perfectly fine. Everybody's saying that knows anything. But him potentially being a top 5 pick with all of these questions around his, because if he goes back to Alabama and gets hurt again, that ain't going to happen. Like that's going to be a GM that drafts him is going to have to answer a lot of questions if he doesn't do well. But if he goes to a place where we know he's going to sit behind somebody and do well, the GM can say, "Oh, it's just we're just taking him for a year to kind of just like Jalen Smith to the Cowboys after he got hurt in the national championship game." Situations like that. I think this is the perfect storm for Tua to get out there and find that dog. And that dog, in this particular case, is the NFL.
Also, they have a new OC coming in next year with Chan Gailey. And granted, he was going to have to learn, a new playbook no matter what. But if he's sitting behind Fitzpatrick, that at least gives them a year with a first-year coach where he can be like, they can kind of morph some concepts to fit what he does best. And like it just, I don't know. I think he has a better opportunity moving forward.
And find a good right tackle because they're going to need that because that's his blind side now. He'll be the first lefty starting quarterback or backup quarterback in the NFL for a while now. There isn't even a backup lefty quarterback in the NFL right now. Matt Leinart, Kellen Moore,
Steve Young.
Not a lot of lefty quarterbacks.
Oh, Mark Brunell.
Vic. Tebow.
Vic. Tebow. There's not a lot of lefty quarterbacks that have had a lot of success, especially in recent history. There's been none. So Tua's going into waters that haven't been charted in a long time. I'm excited for the Dolphins to get a year if they draft him, get a year, kind of reshape their offense, reshape their team, and build that thing. And him to learn behind Fitzpatrick is the perfect human to learn from with that beautiful beard, that big brain, and that great experience in the NFL.
You talked about how everyone likes him. His leadership seems to be incredible. It seems like an extremely positive human being. He's not short, but he's shorter and he's kind of stocky. I think he's got Russell Wilson written all over him, just like who he is as a person and his game on the field. He could scramble a little bit. He's got some versatility. He needs to learn how to slide, obviously. But I think he's going to be great. I really do.
I think he's going to be good. I think there's a chance he gets broken in half. Because I think there's a chance he just gets absolutely broken in half. And if you're the Dolphins, you keep Ryan Fitzpatrick on for another year to be his backup. You let Ryan Fitzpatrick go for a year, then let Ryan Fitzpatrick be his backup. I'm not sure Ryan Fitzpatrick would love that backup role, but at that stage of his career, just like Hasselbeck had to do for Luck, maybe it's something where Fitzpatrick and Tua become buddies and they become friends like Kellen Moore and Dak Prescott, and maybe Fitzpatrick becomes his quarterback coach. I don't know. That could be something beautiful, and I think Ryan Fitzpatrick's the right guy to do it. Now, granted, him and Rosen didn't work out because they signed Fitzpatrick to a lot of money, and then they just brought in this guy who, in the NFL, by all accounts, was not good at football. And then you bench him and he comes back. It's just, I think it's a perfect situation for the Finns. And at the beginning of the year, everybody thought this is what they were trying to do anyways. Couple things change. They get a couple wins. Tua gets hurt again. Now they just kind of have to adjust it. Could be good for the Miami. But South Beach, by the way, South Beach has been undefeated for a long time. Tua seems like the guy who could potentially avoid all the distractions and kind of maybe move that team forward.
And I think with Rosen and Fitzpatrick, the situation there was like Fitzpatrick looks at Rosen, watches him practice, like, this guy stinks. I shouldn't be behind him. But if you get a good quarterback in like Tua, maybe he'll be like, all right, I could go behind this guy when I'm going to be 38, 39 years old.
Okay, this guy can complete passes.
Well, and like you said, it makes sense with that extra pick. If they get him at 5, then maybe they can look at getting a tackle at 18 or, one of those other pieces that they're going to need.
Well, and also the next draft,
Probably
too, they can build for, too.
Yeah.
So it's like, you know what I mean? Like, now, granted, Dolphins fans, and we only know one of them, and our Canadian friend Gumpy, who still can't become an American citizen yet. He's stuck in Canada. He said that this year was actually one of the most fun he's had watching the Dolphins in a long time because the expectations going into the season were, hey, this team stinks. They're getting rid of everybody. And instead what it turned into was Brian Flores was this electric figure on the sideline. Ryan Fitzpatrick was willing them to victories. They beat the Patriots at the end. Flores almost fights a ref at one time. He said this was the most exciting year that he's had as a Dolphins fan in a long time. Well, buckle up because I think more and more more of them are going to come. Maybe you sprinkle in some time for Tua next year towards the end of the season once he's healthy. Maybe get a little glimpse so he can get some NFL reps in him, but just kind of take care of him, kind of rest him. But their fans are going to have a lot of patience. The organization's going to have a lot of patience. And I think B-Flow is a guy that understands the game. I think he'll be able to have patience. It's just everybody else knowing that with the first pick of the draft that you did terrible in, you're taking a quarterback that you know you're not going to use for a year. It's a very interesting situation. Takes a lot of patience to do that.
Chan Gailey could scheme it up, too. He was the Steelers offense coordinator when they had Cordell/Stewart in 97.
Well, I mean, I thought about Cordell the other day whenever I said that Taysom Hill is the best at football player that has ever entered the NFL. Just not football player that has ever entered the NFL. He's the best at football player that has ever entered the NFL. The guy is electric at all positions. Scores a touchdown, throws a touchdown damn near, covers the kick, fullback. He's just utility player. I couldn't fathom how many other players have his skill set that weren't in a situation where like Sean Payton would let them do that are watching him that are just like, man, I could have done all. And I assume that's a lot of guys. I would assume there's a lot of guys that say, hey, I was athletic enough to throw, to do all these things. I just wasn't in the right situation. Taysom Hill, his ability to be available and not get injured, covering special teams kicks, lead blocking, throwing, catching, everything the guy does is so impressive to me. And I'm assuming there's a lot of teams that are going to be taking shots at Taysom Hill. He's only making like $600,000 or something this year.
Yeah.
Jeez. He's only making, I think his deal was $3-year deal worth $1.2 million or something all combined. He's making next to nothing. But his bonus, by the way, for player performance, for what you're getting paid versus your actual
earnings?
No. What you're
performance?
Versus your actual worth.
Oh, okay.
Okay, there's a thing called player performance bonus that hits in March. The NFLPA and the NFL have come together to do this because there's a lot of guys that have deals that are small, like rookie contracts, but then they end up carrying the team on their back. So they had to figure out a way to bonus these players that are playing and outperforming their actual contracts. So it's like player performance bonuses. I'm assuming his is going to be over $1 million. Like I got one year because I was a holder, kickoff, punter, everything like that. I got 1 year for like $100,000 or something like that. Just dropped in my bank account out of nowhere. I'm like, damn. AQ Shipley used to get massive ones because he was playing kickoff return and offensive line. He had a bad deal. I assume Taysom Hill might have the biggest player performance bonus in the history of that player performance bonus that drops in March. I'm excited for that. I hope they release that number. I don't think Taysom Hill will. He's a Mormon. He's got to probably be.
Do you think Tebow could have been that type of role player?
No.
He didn't run a 4.4.
No. No.
Also, the way Taysom Hill threw that deep ball, like Tebow, he uncorked that thing right on the money. Like he's also still like a pretty formidable quarterback.
Bring him in. He's coming to New England. He's the next Patriots QB.
With the way Greg Roman and Lamar have done things, and with more Kyler Murray and Cliff Kingsbury, and with this becoming a more and more thing, a guy who can run a 4.4 and throw a 55-yard dime is probably a guy that's going to be highly sought after for quarterback. I thought Sean Payton was going to go with him whenever Drew Brees went down. Instead, they went with Teddy. Teddy went undefeated. Teddy's going to have to get paid somewhere as well. But Taysom Hill might be a guy that a lot of teams will want. But if you're playing he's playing football. He's playing football. Like some players play offensive line. Some players play running back. Some people play wide receiver. You get it. He is playing all of the football. Has to be the time of his life, but at some point you're going to get sick of covering kicks, being a fullback, and all that stuff. Yeah. They say jack of all trades, master of none. That's what a lot of people are tweeting about. Like, yeah, he's good at football, but he's not good enough to be in one position. I think everybody agrees that if he was to play one position, he would probably dominate at it. He's just such a good utility player for him. It keeps a lot of people guessing. I like Taysom Hill a lot.
I don't think they use him enough.
There's breaking news. We're going to need you to read it here, Pat.
Breaking news via Adam Schefter Twitter account. New York Giants are finalizing a deal to make Patriots wide receivers coach Joe Judge. Isn't he a special teams coach?
Yep. He coaches both.
So why would he say wide receivers coach and not special teams coach? That's unbelievable.
Special teams is way better than the wide receiver.
Way better.
Well,
Rappaport said both.
Adam Schefter and Rappaport are reporting that the New York Giants are finalizing a deal to make Patriots special teams coach Joe Judge their next head coach. League sources tell ESPN deal is in the works as of last night, which is another reason that Matt Rule took the Panthers head coaching job. Shout out to the brand. Shout out to Joe Judge. Shout out to the Giants getting it right, bringing in another special teams guy who not only understands special teams. But when you coach special teams, you have to coach the entire team. The special teams coordinator, other than the head coach, is the only coach that speaks to the entire team every single day. They have to understand defense. They have to understand the offense. They have to understand how to get players that aren't supposed to be in the NFL to perform at an NFL level. They have to get the roster guys that are on number 49 on the roster, number 48 on the roster, that just got signed on a Friday to buy in and play on Sunday. I think that's why special teams coordinators and coaches are so talented at what they do, because they have a mixed bag of humans that are getting paid next to nothing, who rarely know their name, and get them to do A-plus effort for a team that they don't really care about is why special teams coaches are coaches that I think should be looked at more as head coaches. Now, is Joe Judge the guy I thought would get it? No. I thought Bones would get it with the Rams, or the guy from the Chiefs, and maybe even Tom McMahon at the Broncos. But Joe Judge and that special teams this past year with Matthew Slater and everything they were able to do, they were winning games with that defense for the Patriots. Joe Judge, good for him. The brand's getting represented just like Harbaugh in Baltimore. I'm excited to see what he does with it.
Yeah, I was just about to say, because Harbaugh was a guy who coached defensive backs and was also a special teams coordinator. And his success is probably what's leading to this type of guy getting hired in New York, I would assume.
I would assume. I would assume that Harbaugh has helped for sure. But anybody who knows football, every single day you lead off with a special teams meeting. That's literally what it is. And if you have a guy that has, by the way, situational football, he's going to know, because most situational football revolves around a special teams play. He's a good speaker, too. He dropped my name in his last interview. I mean, I like the guy a lot. Good for Joe Judge. Congrats to the Giants for getting a guy. By the way, them locking in Joe Judge before Matt Rule.
Interesting.
Very interesting to me. Matt Rule was almost forced to take the Carolina Panthers job then if he wanted to go to the NFL. This is kind of all... I'll be excited to see, like, in 5 years now, how this all works out.
Yeah, because according to all reports, Rule was supposed to go to New York today to take the meeting. Did the Giants just immediately hire Judge after Matt Rule was going to the Carolina Panthers?
Well, the tweet says that
last night,
deal was in works as of last night, which is another reason that Matt Rule took the job. So it's like took the Panthers job. So I guess the Giants were trying to win over Joe Judge before Matt Rule even announced.
It's like you said earlier, though. When you get a guy in the room and you're impressed, why let him leave?
Lock him down.
Oh, so the Browns are in last again?
Yeah, so now the Browns have Urban Meyer.
McDaniels.
If McDaniels leaves the Patriots.
Hey, people are jumping ship.
To go to the Browns. Everybody's leaving. Special teams coordinator, gone. Kyle Van Noy, probably, gone. Tom Brady, possibly, gone.
Whoa!
Belichick goes back to Cleveland?
No. No, we're not losing Bill. Can't lose Bill. Can't even talk about it.
As we go on, we remember all the times you guys had together. It's dead. It's dead. What are you gonna do? Best special teams in the league, gone. All your veteran defensive players, gone. Tom Brady, gone. But you got Belichick.
And got the Celtics. Let's go with Celtics.
How awesome has this bowl season been?
Oh, the best.
This has truly been the biggest and best bowl season of all time. Yes, we've had great games. Yes, we've seen the stars of tomorrow on full display. But if you really want to know why this bowl season has been the biggest and best of all time, I'll tell you why. It's because of Cheez-It. Yes, Cheez-It, the official snack of bowl season. The cheesy, crunchy, satisfying snack is proud to be an official sponsor of the College Football Playoff. Maybe you cracked open a box on the couch during some bowl games. Maybe even during the Cheez-It Bowl itself. Whether you did or not, and hopefully you did, now is the time to stock up on your Cheez-It supply for the College Football Playoff Championship game. So before next Monday night, do your taste buds a favor and go get yourself a box of Cheez-It snacks. Cheez-It, official sponsor of the College Football Playoff. By the way, Cheez-It is perfect for watching national championships.
Oh, yeah.
Go ahead and stock up before Monday. We got to get to a break. On the other side, we got the Granger take of the week. We got Diggs fixing the college football playoff system in his eyes a little bit. And Oliver Luck, boss man of the XFL, is joining us. You're listening to the Pat McAfee Show.
"10 years ago, I had an undiagnosed heart condition, and erectile dysfunction was actually the first sign that something was wrong.
Luckily, I'm a doctor, an expert in sexual health, and Zach's dad.
Not everyone has a doctor in the house, and some health conditions can be really tough to talk about. We started Roman to change that.
Now you can go online and chat with a physician.
And if treatment is right for you, we'll ship genuine medication right to your door. If you're experiencing ED, hair loss, cold sores, or other issues, let's take care of it.
(11:24 East Coast, 8:24 West Coast, and all the times in between. We just got a little heads up. Matt Rule got broken off by the Carolina Panthers. 7 years, $60 million. Holy hell. Good for Matt Rule. So not only did the owner fly to Waco and go hang out in Matt Rule's house and talk to him, he also said, what do you think it'll take to become the head coach of Carolina Panthers? Matt Rule goes, I don't know, $60 million. He goes, all right, 7 years, $60 million. Deal. Get me the hell out of here. I'm heading over to Charlotte. I can't wait. Good for Matt Rule getting that money. Now, Baylor, and this was just said amongst people that were there, was paying Matt Rule well. Okay? Matt Rule took that job whenever Baylor was in the depths of hell. They said they don't have to leak the information, though, because it's a private institution. So unlike all the other schools that have to tell you what they're paying the coach, because normally the head football coach is the highest paid state employee in every single state.
Yep.
At Baylor, they did not have to say anything because they're a private institution. I would assume he was getting paid well if the Carolina Panthers had to come in with a 7-year, $60 million. Good for Matt Rule. That's a lot of money. I wonder what Joe Judge is making.
Yeah.
Not that.
Yeah, not 60.
A lot of people on the Twitter don't know who Joe Judge is. Just remember that this year, a lot of games were won because of the special teams and the defense. Know that Joe Judge's big mind has been operating that special teams for a long time. I think he's going to be a good one. Now, will he be able to handle New York and everything that is New York? He's got Danny Dimes. He's got Saquon, who's a once-in-a-generation talent, as long as he can hang out with the right people in the offseason.
Yeah.
I'm excited to see what he does there. I think, boy, this is an interesting one. Now, what do the Browns do? Matt Rule, by the way, just set the standard there for what they're expecting to pay, right?
Yeah.
7 years, $60 million. Is that normal? I don't know if that's normal.
Expect a very corny Judge ruling headline coming from the New York Post or something.
Oh, yeah. I mean, they're already Judge Joe, and the tweet was the tweets I've been getting from hack tweeters.
They're just going to recycle all the Aaron Judge headlines from the
Well,
past
then you
2
mix
years.
in Matt Rule, and it's just another.
Okay, before we get to another break and then Oliver Luck gets here, the take of the week is sponsored by Grainger. Let's take a look at the take that wakes and got it done this week. It's my conversation about the overtime rules and how I would change them. I was asked if I could change the NFL overtime rules, how would I do it? Not that it needs to be changed, by the way. I think that is something I've been getting attacked online by people who've been saying, if they win in regulation, it doesn't matter. Yeah, we're not changing regulation. Okay, the teams obviously didn't win in regulation. We're talking about overtime. Last year, Patrick Mahomes, one of the most electrifying football players, wasn't able to get back on the field because of the way the overtime rules are currently. This year, Drew Brees wasn't able to get on the field because of the way the overtime rules are currently. So the thought was, if you could change them, how would you change them? I decided that the way to do it is a 10-minute quarter of classic football. Let the boys play. They could potentially win by 10 if it goes to overtime, which is not only good for gamblers, but good for everybody. Let them in last-second field goals potentially to come back. Maybe there's 3 scores. Maybe there's 4 scores. A 10-minute quarter of classic football. If it's tied after that 10-minute of quarter, if it's tied after 70 minutes of regular football, then you go to a 2-point conversion, sudden death shootout style. 3 of them, one offense on one side, one offense on the other side. They go back and forth. If this offense scores and this offense doesn't, congratulations to that defense and the offense that scored. You have won the game. If it's tied after 3 of those, then you go to the most electrifying and exciting thing to ever happen to sports, a kicker duel. 2 kickers will walk out on the field with their holders. They will attempt a 50-yard field goal. If one of them makes and one of them misses, the one that makes his entire team, city, and franchise wins the game. If they both make from 50, they go to 55. If they both make from 55, they go to 60. If they both make from there, then what do you do, Pat? You get a non-kicking position to go out on the field. They have to kick an extra point. Those who make win. Those who miss don't. You're welcome. I saved the NFL overtime, and that Take of the Week was sponsored by Grainger. Delivering the products that keep your facility running is what Grainger does best. They've been doing it for 90 years. Visit Grainger.com for whatever you need, whenever you need it. Grainger, for the one who gets it done. We got to get to a break. We got Oliver Luck from the XFL on the other side. They're changing a lot of rules. They got a shootout style overtime as well. I'm excited to talk about. Are they eliminating the kicker? What? This is the Pat McAfee Show. Oliver Luck on the other side.
Hey guys, if you're experiencing erectile dysfunction, you can now get treated anywhere. Like here, even here. Okay, maybe not there. That's why we built Roman, so it's easy to get ED meds prescribed online delivered to your door. Just visit GetRoman.com, chat with a U.S. licensed physician, and if treatment is right for you, you'll get genuine medication delivered in discreet packaging. Get started with your free online visit at GetRoman.com/TV.
Welcome back to the Pat McAfee Show. Joining us now is a man who is a stud football player, A man who was once an athletic director at West Virginia University, then he was running the NCAA for a while, and now he is the commissioner and CEO of the XFL. Ladies and gentlemen, Oliver Luck.
Pat, how you doing? How's my favorite Mountaineer?
Hey, life is good over here, Mr. Luck. How are you doing over there? New role, new gig, new league, new rules. This is an exciting time for the XFL.
It is. It's an awesome time. And the best thing is we've got all of our players in training camp down in Houston. Guys are working their tails off, got great coaches, great broadcast partners. You're a part of that with Fox and ESPN. So it's just fun. Right? More football. Who wouldn't love more football? That's what we're offering in the springtime.
Amen. I can't help but say you're damn right with that, because once the NFL season ends, there's always been this lack of football in the American society. Excited to see how the XFL will not only revolutionize the game, but reimagine the game. A lot of rules were released today. We're talking about a faster play clock, 25 seconds. After a touchdowns, there's 3 options to score 1 point, 2 point, 3 points. Dean Blandino, officiating head, says with no kickers involved for any of them. There's new kicking rules and everything. With all these new rules, what was the goal of the XFL? To make it faster, quicker, and more exciting, I'd assume?
Yeah, so I think the goal was to play that up-tempo, fast-paced game, and that's based on what fans told us. We did a boatload of market research, focus groups, etc., and fans basically said this. You know this. It's the same thing you hear. They love the game, but there's too much idle time, too much downtime. Make it go a little bit quicker, a little bit more action. Get rid of those meaningless plays. Turn them into meaningful plays, right? You're a former kicker. You knock the ball out of the end zone on your kickoffs. That's a meaningless play for most fans because there's no return. That's what they want to see. They love you, Pat, love the strength of your leg, but they want to see the kickoff return. So, we had the time, and Vince McMahon, the owner of our league, founder of our league, gave us the time to really sit and think, listen to the fans, and try to design a game that's traditional football, but it has a couple of innovations that'll really help us play fast, play up-tempo, and score a bunch of points.
Now, when you're building a league from ground up, and now the XFL happened years ago, but this is a completely different world now with the XFL. Obviously, the first time around, you weren't involved. It was supposed to be just a stadium event that they forced onto television, but now you were tasked with this job of building a league from ground up. What was your number one idea or number one thing you had to get accomplished first?
Well, I think there were a couple of things. The first thing was really to figure out what kind of a game we wanted, right? Because the game of football is great. Fans right now love football. I think we're in an era where we're seeing peak football. It can't get much better in terms of what you have both at the professional and college level. But we wanted to make sure we could figure out what kind of a game would align with what fans wanted. That's number one. And the second thing is pretty simple. We needed great coaches, right? I'm a big believer in the power of a great coach. And guys like, Bob Stoops or June Jones, Pep Hamilton, Winston Moss, all these guys, Jim Zorn, these guys that we were able to sign. Mark Trestman won a couple of Grey Cups up in Canada. We think these are very, very competent, really strong, good head coaches. And you get those good coaches and coaching staffs, in turn, you can recruit some pretty good players, right? So we think we've got 560 players right now in Houston working their tail off at training camp. We think those are the best 560 players not under contract with the National Football League. And these are guys, Pat, they're all Americans. They're former high draft choices. It's tough. It's very tough. You and I both know as former players, it's tough to make an NFL roster and to stick on that roster for a number of years.
I agree completely. It is very difficult. Good coaching is a big deal. Obviously, I loved Pep Hamilton. Got a chance to talk to Pep Hamilton. He actually made a DC Defender fan out of Ty Schmidt after chatting with him, which is good. That's kind of been a fun part of the XFL, by the way, is watching people pick the teams that they're going to back that they have no allegiance to see how it goes. Now, one thing that the NFL is kind of riddled with problems right now is the officiating. You guys signed Dean Blandino as your head of officiating, and there's 9 refs on the field. There's one person that's just there to spot the ball so the game will be quicker. And then there's this Hawkeye technology that'll be judging and reviewing rules. What is this, and why should people be excited about this? And do you expect some of your concepts, just like the Skycam did with the first XFL, to be taken over to the NFL?
Well, I don't know about, our concepts, sort of migrating to the NFL. They've got a bunch of smart people on their competition committee. And they'll figure it out. They'll figure it out. But the Hawkeyes basically our instant replay system. It's a great system. We'll have a Sky judge who's able to inject himself into a game to overturn an egregious call. We want to get the calls right, but we also want to do that quickly. So we're giving the Hawkeye guy 60 seconds max to make a decision. We don't want the pace of the game to be affected too much. Dean Blandino, I think, is maybe the most competent, the smartest guy around in terms of how to put an officiating program together to get the 6 teams that we'll have of officials, but also to make sure that our philosophy, which is not to be overly technical, right, to get that philosophy shared by all the officiating crews. It's a hard game to officiate. You and I both know that. But we want to get it right, but also don't want to affect the pace of play. We think we can get a great up-tempo game, with the same number of plays, more or less, that you have in a National Football League game, with all under 3 hours, including a potential overtime.
Okay, so whenever these rules are being pitched, I love the shootout idea. 5 and 5 from the 5 yard. That's first and goal from the 5 yard line 5 times for each team, basically, and it's a shootout to see who can score more, 3-2, 4-1, whatever it is. And whenever these ideas are pitched, I would just like to imagine myself in the brainstorming room. Are you up there and you're just like, all right, who has the best idea? And you guys are writing this on dry erase board. You're like, a shootout from the 5, genius. Okay, a kickoff where the entire coverage teams and return teams are within 5 yards of each other from the 30 and 35 of the return team. Perfect. If they kick it into the end zone, bring it out to the 35. No coffin corner punts. Like, how did the reimagining of football take place for the XFL?
So anybody like you or me who loves the game would have loved to be a part of this thing. So we spent a lot of time first listening to the fans, and then number 2, bringing a bunch of smart people into the room. Not all football experts. We had health and safety people in there. We had TV production people to make sure that we were kind of looking at all the angles. And we wanted to make sure, and this was the key, Pat, we wanted to make sure that every one of our innovations had a strong underlying rationale, right? Okay, this will really help us score more points, or this will help us, play up-tempo, fast-paced in terms of, for example, the coach-to-player communication, or this is better health and safety-wise, right? 20 years ago, you didn't have to think much about health and safety, but now, of course, as it should be, it's front and center. So every one of these innovations has an underlying rationale that I think every football fan would agree with. So we had former players, former coaches, current players and coaches, lots of others to fit in. And then, most importantly, we tested this stuff. Right. We went down to JUCOs in Mississippi in December of 2018, sort of borrowed a couple of teams for a week and tested a boatload of these things. We tested it with the Spring League, right? Your Call Football. These are sort of semi-pro leagues that some folks may be aware of. And we actually ran through hundreds of kickoffs. And we also, tried some things that we discarded. We had the 5-yard halo concept on a punt, right? Which is what they do up in the CFL. But as we talked to American players, we realized we just couldn't teach that because they just are not used to that. They have a hard time sort of figuring out where that 5-yard, barrier would be. So we abandoned that, said it's not worth it. So there are a lot of things that we looked at that we didn't put into our game. And we also had to be selective, right? You don't want to think too much about rules as a player because that will affect sort of the way you play the game. So we had to be kind of selective in terms of how many innovations we wanted to put in, things that were different from our default rule book, which is the NFL, of course.
This is such an exciting thing, just to think about a league trying to test how they can make a game that's been around for a long time even better. What's been around for a long time but is just now getting federally legalized is sports gambling. The thought of the extra point not only being a 1-point opportunity or a 2-point opportunity or a 3-point opportunity, so technically you could score a 9-point touchdown. So if you're down 18, it's still a 2-score game. How much did you guys think about sports gambling in that world kind of while you're creating these rules and knowing that that's going to be a big part of a lot of people's interests, especially when they don't have ties to a team, so gambling is going to draw somebody to a game?
Oh, absolutely. So we had a lot of factors that we brought into all these discussions, one of which was health and safety, one of which was fantasy, one of which was, of course, sports gambling. And I think the extra point opportunities that a team has after they score 1 point, 2 point, 3 point, I think it's awesome because it's more strategy, right?
Yeah.
It's another way that fans can basically second guess a coach. And that's what we like to do as fans. Oh my God, they should have gone, Pep should have gone for 3 or should have gone for 2 in the second quarter, because they were on a roll or whatever. So we thought about, obviously, the sports wagering community. We spent a lot of time with those folks in Vegas with the various, sort of companies that are involved with that. We think it's an important part of what we want to do. Most importantly, right, for the gamblers is a league that has integrity.
Yes.
And that's critical. So that's why we're very open with our rule book and how we're doing this. And we want to make sure that folks, feel comfortable wagering on a game.
Oliver, the one thing we always talk about a lot in this office when it comes to the XFL is the start date that you guys chose. You guys chose to start 1 week after the Super Bowl was over. We always kicked around the idea in here of maybe moving it back to the beginning of March so the missing of football builds up a little bit, and also you avoid probably the worst month of weather for the year. What was the thinking as far as starting the XFL the first week after the Super Bowl?
Yeah, so we talked about different schedules, and ultimately Vince, who's the founder, owner of our league, felt that really launching right after the Super Bowl is the best time. I find that, I start to miss football around the divisional playoff games. Right? Because really, you think about it, you go from all these football games in September, October, November, December, January, even after the college season is over. There's only a handful of games left, right? So my sort of desire to watch more football kicks in about mid-January. So I think by the time we get to February, people really do want to continue to watch games. So yeah, we got some weather issues. Certainly, being in the New York market and DC market, we may have some bad weather, but my gosh, Houston's going to be beautiful. LA, Tampa's going to be fine. St. Louis indoors. Seattle's always, rainy and drizzly anyway. So, but they'll, escape really bad weather, I think, that time of year. But we think that fans will be ready to bounce right from the Super Bowl to watching the XFL opening weekend, February 8th and 9th.
Oliver, you are a very accomplished businessman yourself. I mean, your business accolades are just as good as damn near anybody walking this earth. There is a lack of appreciation for the business genius that is Vince McMahon. What has it been like working with Vince McMahon, and how hands-on with the entire process has he been in this thing?
Well, Vince is, I think, one of the great entrepreneurs in American society. If you really look and study what he's done in terms of building WWE, it's remarkable. It really is. It's a $1 billion a year company, publicly traded. It's a real juggernaut that he built really from scratch. So the fact that he loves this game, as much as Pat, you and I do, and millions of others, is awesome. He is incredibly smart. He's very intuitive in knowing what people want. What I really enjoy about Vince is he's trusted me to kind of put the football pieces together, whether it's hiring Bob Stoops or June Jones or Jim Zorn or Winston Moss or whoever it would be, whether it's setting up training camp in Houston with all 8 of our teams so we can really get a good feel, for the strengths and the weaknesses of each of our teams as they go through joint scrimmages and jamboree style, right? He's given me the resources to do all of that and has been 100% supportive. So, when this league launches, and we succeed, and I feel very confident about our abilities, it's really all due to Vince and his unbelievable vision and judgment.
I want you to succeed there. I understand. I have a lot of faith in your brain. I have a lot of faith in Vince McMahon's brain, but this type of league has not had a lot of success in the past. What do you think will be the thing that gets you guys over the AAFL had zero business acumen running that thing. They had some players, they had zero people with business sense that knew how to figure it out. I think there's still players that owe money for hotels in that league currently to this day. Why do you think the XFL, aside from the coaches and things like that, why do you think the XFL is going to succeed?
I think there's 2 things. One, it's the resources that Vince brings to the table. He realizes that this is not a one and done kind of a league. To really build strong foundations, it's going to take a couple, 3 years to get a fan base built up. So he's as we say, he's got plenty of gas in the car, right? Number two, I think is quite honestly, Pat, the power of Disney and Fox, right? Disney with ABC and ESPN and Fox. I'm not sure there's ever been a startup league in any sport that's launched with the kind of coverage that we'll get. So I trust guys like Bob Stoops and Pep and others to really coach up these teams well. So we're going to play good, fast, up-tempo football. And I think a lot of people can watch us play. And that's really the ultimate decider. People love the game. Football has become our number 1 sport. I'm old enough to remember when there was a debate about whether baseball was still the national pastime. I think that's a moot point anymore, right? It's the game of football that we love in this country.
Amen. America is football. I can't wait for you to become this villainous character that's going to happen in like 10 years. Every commissioner ends up being hated. It's just going to happen, Oliver. Even though you are incredibly lovable and I like you and you're very, very smart, at some point the commissioner is going to have to become the villain, and I'm excited for that.
Yeah, it'll happen. It's inevitable. But as long as, we're succeeding, I'll be a happy villain.
Hey, how's grandpa life?
Grandpa life is great. Thank you for asking. So the inside joke, Andrew had his first child about, 5-6 weeks ago. Little baby, Lucy, Marta Luck, and mother and dad are doing great, and grandmom and granddad are doing great as well.
That's awesome.
Start first.
Hey, is Andrew happy?
He's happy as a clam.
That's awesome. I'm happy for him. I'm happy for you, and I'm happy for the XFL. Ladies and gentlemen, Commissioner and CEO of the XFL, Oliver Luck. Thank you, Oliver.
Love you, Pat. Take care, man.
Hey, appreciate you, boss. Good guy.
man.
Good guy.
Mm-hmm.
Good guy. Smart guy.
Yeah.
He was a part of the World League. He ran the Houston Dynamo, I think, for a long time.
Mm-hmm.
He's always been a good business acumen guy. When he went to West Virginia, he got West Virginia in the Big 12, got all these. I mean, he went to the NCAA for a bit. That was tough. I'm going to be honest. When he went to the NCAA, it was tough because I had a natural hatred for some of the things the NCAA does. A guy who was a friend of mine, basically, Oliver. I was closer with Oliver Luck than Andrew, to be honest with you. I talked to Oliver more than I talked to Andrew because of our West Virginia ties and everything like that. Him running the NCAA, I was like, can you just start maybe paying these kids? There's a lot more than that. Now he's commissioner and CEO of a new league. I think he'll do very, very good. We got a couple minutes left. Let's get to the phones. Gary in Connecticut. What up, Gary? How's life?
Good, Pat. What's going on, guys?
Hey, we miss you, man. What do you got?
I tell you what, I went full heel yesterday up here in Connecticut. Pat fans are not happy with me, man. I had the Boys to Men blasting. The Patriot flags were coming down. The Bruins and Celtic flags were going up, and I was loving it. Oh, I had To the End of the Road. What's the other one? Oh, the Boys to Men songs. The tears were flowing. No Stairway to Seven. Only the Steelers are going Stairway to Seven, right, Dick?
That's right, baby.
Gary, I appreciate that. Jake in Long Island, what's up, buddy?
What's going on? I'm going to tell you why Tom Brady's going to remain a New England Patriot now that we know he's not going to retire.
Okay.
First of all, there's going to be a $13.5 million cap hit if he walks of a projected $49 million. When he comes back, you got a chance to kind of rework that. Second, I don't understand why you would only want big money right now. 20 years into his career, 43 years old, doesn't make sense to me. And I don't think he's leaving while Robert Kraft is in charge. If it wasn't for Robert Kraft, Brady would have been gone years ago, and we would be rocking out with Jimmy G. Dynasty not over. Brady's coming back. We're going to get weapons.
I don't know if cash is the reason why he would stay. Joey in Virginia, I don't think that. Nobody is, not a single person, and now, granted, we've said unless he's leveraging for a massive contract, that could come from anybody, but I don't think Tom Brady's saying this because of cash, do we?
No
definitely
way.
not.
I respect that guy, though, holding on to that whole thing. Joey in Woodstock?
Hey, Pat. Yeah, this is Joey, diehard Lions fan. Calling on behalf of my two beautiful sons, Colton and Carson. When you are a Bob Quinn or a Matt Patricia in Detroit, can you keep a long-term vision on your team and your franchise, or do you just embrace the seat that is now hotter than Josh Gordon's urine?
Danny and Sharon, PA, last call, and got like 30 seconds.
Hey, Pat, what's up? You were talking about Tua sitting behind someone like Fitzmagic. What are we looking at for the Steelers? Like, Ben's stubborn as hell. How are we going to build someone up? You know what I mean?
I think Ben Roethlisberger is going to roll till the wheels fall off, and they're going to have to draft a new guy. Now, granted, you got to remember for these guys, they draft a guy to take their job. It's not an easy thing to be like, you know what, I'll teach you how to bury me and ruin my career. I think Ryan Fitzpatrick is at the end of his career. That's why he'd be a good mentor for Tua. I'm excited to see how it all works out. Excited for another great Tuesday here. Very thankful for all that listen and watch all around the world. You're the absolute best. Congrats to Rule. Congrats to Joe Judge. Congrats to Oliver Luck in the XFL. It sounds like they're going to have success. You're the absolute best. We'll see you tomorrow morning. Same Pat time. Same Pat channel. This has been the Pat McAfee Show.
On average, people have to wait 29.3 days to see a doctor. Anyone living with erectile dysfunction, hair loss, or cold sores knows that kind of wait just won't work. That's why there's Roman, the digital health clinic for men. Complete a free online visit, and you'll hear back from a U.S. licensed physician within 24 hours. If medication is right for you, Roman delivers it with free 2-day shipping, always in discreet packaging.